Should be a great one in here tonight. Game 2, the Plymouth Whalers and the London Knights. And we'll send it back downstairs to Brent.
Well, thanks a lot, Lee. We'll be back with the drop of the puck in the starting lineups right after this break. Well, it's the Knights and the Plymouth Whalers, Game 2 here at the John Labatt Center. Leigh Cunningham and Rick Doyle standing by. Let's send it upstairs.
All right, thanks very much, Brent. And this game is just nicely underway here in the opening period. Game 2, the London Knights and the Plymouth Whalers, as the London Knights were winners last night in Plymouth by a score of 3-2 to take a 1-0 series lead. But the Whalers are dangerous, you know that. One of the top offensive juggernauts in the Ontario Hockey League, as the Plymouth Whalers come to town for the 3rd time this season. Of course, back on October 11th when this building was open for OHL play, it was the Plymouth Whalers in a very dramatic game that night. And Rick, it'll be interesting to see what we get in here tonight.
And certainly that night we had our biggest crowd of the season up until the Windsor Spitfire series. And we had 9,011, and it looks like we have about 9,100 in here this evening, Lee.
There's Dave Lifferton taking a little bump from Corey Perry. A couple of good draft-eligible players in the Ontario Hockey League in this series. As they go to it, the play goes out to the middle of the ice area, neutral ice, up the right wing side. Here comes Corey Perry. Mike Stathopoulos, perhaps by a skate lace, offside on the right wing side. And so it was whistled down with exactly 1 minute gone in the hockey game.
And we have our scratches for the Plymouth Whalers: Ramsey, Nelson, and Phillips. And for the London Knights, we have Tremner, Drummond, and Linhart, who was out with a wrist injury from the Windsor series.
Out the face-off, Dylan Hunter out there along with Jimmy Gagnon, the veteran, former Pete and Ranger. And Dylan Hunter at center ice is trying to lift it towards the Plymouth line. He does so. They're offside on the play. Now Prust and Gagnon have a little chat from long distance, as I believe the two players are just going to have words and nothing more.
And Brandon Prust opened the scoring last night, and Brandon Prust has opened the scoring in 8 playoff games. He's scored 2 goals, and the first goals of the hockey game, and the London Knights need that. They need to play with a lead, Lee.
Again, it's Gagnon and Dylan Hunter in the face-off circle. The puck trickles back into London territory. It'll be retrieved by Jimmy Ball. Ball, who's played solidly in the playoffs, the veteran, not by OHL standards, but one of the veterans on the back end for the London Knights. He chases Thompson into the corner area. The play spills in behind the London net. Trying to track it down is Tim Sestito. Sestito, good job keeping his check at bay. Dylan Hunter steps in front of him and separates him from the puck. It's Brandon Prust. He'll try to get it out. He can't do it. John Thompson walks his way and gets the shot away. Arm save made by Houle. The puck pops into the air. Well, the Whalers are searching, but they don't come up with it, at least in the slot area. Wisniewski with a shot from the point as he teed it up from back there. And it doesn't reach the desired target, as Chris Houle was scrambling to get back after a little bit of a flurry by the Whalers early in this one. They've come out hard with the forecheck. Chad LaRose out there for a spin, out there with Thompson and Gagnon for now. That will change with Gagnon and Thompson making their way over to the Plymouth bench.
And as they make their way over to the Plymouth bench, we see our key matchup, Lee. We get Thorburns line out there, and of course you're going to see Piavarchuk come out with LaRose on the right wing. You want Danny Bois out there taking care of that.
You got Chris Thorburn in the face-off circle. Good pivotal pickup for the Plymouth Whalers from the Saginaw Spirit. Shot there from Cole Jarrett, and a pad save made by Houle, who gets the leg out in time. Cole Jarrett, he missed virtually the entire month of March with a concussion. Got back into the lineup last night for Game 1 after missing the Owen Sound series, which the Whalers won in 4. Now a centering pass towards Thorburn. Thorburn had that pass a little bit behind him, unable to track it down, as the London Knights will try and get it up and out. Trapped at the line, but Kaiser unable to handle a rolling puck that was spinning and around the blade of his stick at the line. Now a shot by Bois, and again another offside play as Stedman lost his footing just over the Plymouth line.
And we have that key matchup in goal, Lee, and during the season these goaltenders matched up pretty well. You have Paul Drew with the best goals against average in the league this year at 2.49. Second best in the league was Houle at 2.58. Houle's second best save percentage in the league at 9.17. Asheber was the best at 9.18. The Windsor goaltender. Drew 11th best save percentage at 9.11.
That was good quality goaltenders in this series, no doubt about it. Paul Drew out there for the Plymouth Whalers, as he was the number 2 man last year for the Plymouth Whalers as they met the London Knights. Jason Bakashua, now one of the prominent figures in the plans for the future for the Dallas Stars, a real good goaltender. is being groomed perhaps to be the next goaltender of the future for the Dallas Stars. Racing in behind his own net, John Mitchell, a former first-round pick for the Whalers. Nice little pass to Vigilante onto the right wing side into Jonas Fiedler. Fiedler having a look around, centering it in front of the net. Who was there to get the stick out as he lunged it out and took it away from Mitchell, who was steaming his way in. Now it's picked up by Logan Hunter. Logan Hunter gets the shot away. A little stick save made by Drew, who steers it into the near side corner. 3.5 gone in this opening period. The Plymouth Whalers have had pretty good sustained rush in the London zone from time to time early in this period, and the London Knights are trying to keep the fiery Whalers off the score sheet early in this hockey game. You know the Whalers aren't going to be too tickled about giving up home ice advantage, at least going into tonight's game after last night's setback on home ice. But then again, this is London and Plymouth, and they do have some playoff history between the two clubs over the last 5 years.
Well, this is the third time they've met over 5 years. Leigh and the London Knights have won both series. They've been both a bit of a surprise upset series for the London Knights, and certainly the London Knights go into this series as the underdog.
Jimmy Ball going to get himself together from behind the net, centering pass in front. Gagnon, the lone Whaler in the vicinity, but he couldn't lay a stick on the puck. Lifted. Tries to drive it in. Now a bouncing puck accepted there by Stathopoulos, who darts up the left wing side. He's got Hare with him in Perry, a high-octane unit out there for the London Knights, trying to get the first goal of the hockey game. Centering pass in front as Hare dished out, but Stathopoulos couldn't track it down in front. It had a little bit of steam on it, that pass. Centered in front of the net. And the London Knights will try and start from scratch and neutralize. The Whalers have other ideas as they nudge it into the London zone. That's Thompson, who's trapped well into London territory. It's scooped back in by Gagnon, who I don't think saw Thompson. Was kind of engaged with one of the London Knights defensemen and certainly unable to leg himself back into neutral ice to keep the play going for the Whalers.
Oh, he had his back turned to the play, and one of the Whalers got caught in deep on the forecheck. He just shot it in, and Pat Smola was pretty adamant about the fact that the faceoff was going to go deep into the Plymouth Whalers zone.
At the faceoff, Pivarchuk wrestling with his man Thorburn. Finally, they fish it free, and it's Chizik seeking shelter in behind his own net. Martin Chizik, one of 3 Buffalo Sabres draft picks in this series. Of course, Dennis Weidman of the London Knights being one, and Chris Thorburn, the former North Bay Centennial first rounder, also in the stable for the Buffalo Sabres. A couple more Buffalo Sabres draft picks playing tonight up in Guelph in Dan Paye of the Storm, and of course Derek Roy of the Kitchener Rangers, as the Storm look to gain a victory against the Rangers at their place.
And Leigh, just to give you an indication of how high octane this offense is for the Plymouth Whalers, 9 players averaged more than 1 point in the first series.
As they were able to knock off the Owen Sound attack in 4 games. Now a little scramble in front of the net. The dangerous Carl Stewart, one of the fastest players in the OHL, great skater. Jarrett able to sidestep Bois, who fell in front of the would-be shot as Jarrett is back there. Boy, I tell you what, you miss a guy like Cole Jarrett, a draft pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets, one of the top point men in the OHL, certainly offensively. That has to be a big hole to fill, but they got him back in time for this series, and certainly he's a welcome addition back there for Mike Vellucci's Whalers.
And he played his first game last night in Plymouth.
Back on the left wing side, here come the Knights again. They're trying to stretch it out a little bit in neutralize, but the Whalers again defensively sound. Stewart tried to throw it in front of the net. LaRose was hanging around, but he never did see the puck. Chizik dispatched into his own zone to grab off the loose puck. No icing on the play. Chizik left it there for Cole Jarrett. Good defensive tandem out there now for the Plymouth Whalers. Chizik is able to ride his way to center ice, nearly got his pocket picked by Bois. He was separated from the puck, and the London Knights gained control just behind their own line. Changes now for the Plymouth Whalers. They're trying to change anyway, since there's a scramble in front of the Plymouth bench, and finally Stewart was kind of caught in the middle a little bit. He is able to jump into the bench. The left wing side, John Mitchell. Mitchell left it there for Chizik on the right wing side. An errant pass designed for Jarrett, way ahead of him. Jarrett was on a gas anyway after a lengthy shift and made his way over to the bench. That will be icing charge against the London Knights as we played 5.5 minutes here in this opening period, still looking for the first goal in the hockey game.
As we get a shot of Kyle Quincy's helmet. On the back of that helmet is an American flag, and that was the brain trust of Don Brankley. He wanted to show his support for the Americans with regards to the Iraq War, and he does that with the flag on the back of the helmet.
Now it's played to an open wing on the near side, collected by Dave Boland, who game by game is gaining more confidence. The first round pick for the London Knights in the last OHL priority selection. He's going to be a good one. Now it's picked up by Nate Kaiser, feeds it ahead for Mitchell. Mitchell couldn't fish it out of his skates. Back the other way up the right wing side. Here's Boland. He left it there for the trailer in the play. Plus nifty little pass in front. And Dylan Hunter got the shot away, but he fired a bit of a blank. that did not threaten Paul Drew after some good passing by the London Knights in close. Now Sabret got a big goal the other night, or last night rather, in Plymouth in game 1. Centering pass in front that's eaten up by Letizia, the Chicago native, who transfers the puck on the right wing side into Vigilante. Vigilante feeds it ahead for Jonas Fiedler, a dribbler right into the range of Chris Houle, who comes out as Mitchell arrived on the scene a little bit late, and that was enough for Houle to settle for the faceoff. That's just what he'll get in London territory.
And what we're seeing here, Lee, is that the London Knights are setting that trap up, and the Plymouth Whalers are kind of playing into it. They're trying to carry that puck through the neutral zone instead of passing it through the neutral zone, and they're getting trapped awful early deep into their zone, and they're going to have to learn that they have to make that one outlet pass and get some speed going through neutral zone in order to beat the trap.
Off the face-off, Jimmy Ball claims the puck. He rolls it around into the near side corner. Lifton pinches in from his blue line position to try and trap it in there. Now they go to the forecheck to the Whalers. Sestito looking for a man in front. Camped out there is Gagnon. Ditto for Thompson as they shove it into the pads of Chris Houle. Now we get a little bit of fencing in front as Ball, I think, got mugged somewhat by Jimmy Gagnon, who's not shy about dropping the gloves when need be. He's been a rugged performer since coming into the league with the Rangers a few years back.
And I think we're going to have offsetting penalties here, as referee Smola is pointing to Jimmy Ball as well, as we get Gagnon in the box and Ball's making his way over. But an interesting stat here, Lee, in that the Plymouth Whalers have opened up this game with a 7-0 shots lead with just under 7 minutes gone in the hockey game. So the London Knights have yet to test Paul Drew this evening.
As we'll get a little 4-on-4 hockey, it would appear. No, just the one man in the penalty box now, Jimmy Gagnon, and so a power play for the London Knights. I thought both of them might be going after a little skirmish right around Chris Houle.
It's really busy.
Jackson loves goalies, so goalie.
And now the face-off.
Jimmy Gagnon for Buffing at 6:38.
So how about
Off the face-off, it's picked up in behind the net by Dennis Weidman. Weidman waiting for someone to pick up the puck. It is going to be Corey Perry. Quickly returns it to Weidman. Weidman winds it up and neutral ice on the left wing side into Sabret. Sabret dumps it in behind the net. Corey Perry will give a body bump to his man Dave Lifton. Now into the corner, they search for the loose puck to the London Knights as they get the chance here with the extra attacker. A minute and a half left to go in the minor, taken by Jimmy Gagnon. Body check thrown there by Lifton as he took Bois out of the play on the far side. Perry distributes the puck in behind the net. Stathopoulos is there, jammed to the back wall by Wisniewski. Bois joins the fray as he looks to pry it free. Now back to Perry. Perry escorts the puck back to Sabret. Sabret had that one jump over the blade of his stick. Quickly to the attack. It's going to be Chad LaRose. And LaRose will backhand it deep into London territory as the Knights reorganize in their own zone. On the left wing side, Sabret, it's a pass into Weidman, nearly picked off there by Thompson, but Weidman was able to sidestep Thompson, although it's wrapped back into the London zone by the Plymouth Whalers very promptly. Now Weidman takes it in his own zone, being chased around by Thompson a little bit. Back onto Sabret. Sabret off the back wall to get it to Weidman. Weidman needs some assistance. We'll get it from Corey Perry. And Dennis Weidman slowly out of his own zone. He creeps up to his own blue line, and boy, nearly too many men on the ice. The London Knights are going to get away with it, but that was a play that was right in front of the bench, and one of those deals where Kyle Quincy was going on and they needed to pop right back into the bench.
Well, Kyle Quincy came on the ice and the puck hit him, so Kyle Quincy will get a penalty on this, as Danny Sabret, the man that was going off, played the puck. So you have 6 men in the game, and London Knights will get flagged here, and we'll have 4-on-4 hockey for 40 minutes or less.
I thought that might be the case.
For 40 seconds or less. Check that, Lee.
And so 4-on-4. Sabret backpedaling in his own zone to keep Mitchell away from him. And a shot to an open wing. Mathon off the wall, takes it off the London bench area wall. Picked up by Mitchell. Mitchell unable to take it away from Dylan Hunter. Did a nice job of shredding the checking of Mitchell. Behind the net, Bolin tracked down there by Lifton. They continue to try and work it free. The Whalers and the London Knights, 2 men apiece back there. Now it's onto the stick of Hunter. Hunter being given the business by Nate Kaiser, a rough customer back there on the back end for the Plymouth Whalers. He's the captain of this hockey team, formerly a draft pick of the Phoenix Coyotes. Now back to Sabret. Sabret back to the middle line with a crisp pass to Mathon. Mathon tried to get the shot away. It bounces out the leg of Mitchell. Mitchell tries to shovel it ahead for Gagnon. Fresh from the penalty box. Sabret sweeps the puck away from Gagnon. Nice little play there by Danny Sabret, who had to hustle back and turn on the jet somewhat, with Gagnon having the first step on him. but he got back there quickly and was able to lunge out the stick and knock away the puck from Jimmy Gagnon.
Well, Gagnon steps out of the penalty box and he finds himself in a race for the puck almost on a breakaway. Danny Savrett hustles back and sweeps the puck away, and as he sweeps the puck away, him and Gagnon go into Houle and knock the net off. So we'll have a face-off deep in London zone as they'll now attempt to kill off 1 minute and 11 seconds of a power play for the Plymouth Whalers.
Plymouth Whalers 10 goals in 23 tries in the playoffs, working at an over 40% clip. We're ranked third in the regular season in power play work. Now it's picked up by Thorburn. Moves it back to Cole Jarrett. There to quarterback along with Wisniewski. A shot. Good blocker save made by Houle as Wisniewski was able to lean into one from the blue line. He might get another chance this time around as Cole Jarrett winding and firing. And that clips the pad of Houle again, scrambling about. Solid goaltending there out of Chris Houle, who was peppered by a couple of good opportunities, both originating from the blue line area. That was picked up by Cole Jarrett. He'll leave it there for James Wisniewski. Chicago Blackhawks draft pick Wisniewski on the left wing side into Jarrett. Jarrett gallops his way up the left wing side. He's got Thorburn with him. Thorburn feathers a pass back to Wisniewski nicely into Thorburn. A shot. Oh, and a big glove save by Houle. Players in front of him still. He turned on the radar and in a maze of legs got the glove out in a hurry and robbed the Whalers in close.
Well, that was just a good underneath play by Wisniewski as he finds Thorburn coming off the half boards, and Chris Houle comes out with a big glove save on that as he makes his 10th save of the game, and we're almost halfway through the period, so he's faced 10 shots. London Knights have yet to record a shot on goal on Paul Drew.
Again, another highlight reel style save made there by Chris Houle, who foiled Chris Thorburn at close range. Nice little passing play constructed there by the Plymouth Whalers, as Rick alluded to. Good work on the back end by Wisniewski, who's crafty back there. Now again, Thorburn finds himself with an opportunity right into Stewart. Stewart clogged up in front of the net. Another chance there, whipped wide by LaRose. Got the low shot away. In close again. LaRose is right there. He snaps it up high under the crossbar. Well, you knew the London Knights were reeling a little bit back in their own zone, and the Whalers take full advantage. They celebrate the goal both on the bench and on the ice. It's a big goal for the Whalers, as Chris Houle was defenseless, as that shot by LaRose was stuffed under the crossbar with precision.
Well, LaRose pounces on a rebound, and Rick Stedman makes a valiant effort here, but it goes up off Stedman's stick high over Houle's glove, and the Plymouth Whalers quickly jump out at the 10-minute mark of the first period into a 1-0 lead on their 12th shot directed at Chris Houle.
And again, the London Knights still looking for their first shot of this hockey game. So the Whalers, you knew they were going to come out strong after giving the London Knights the advantage in the lead last night on home ice. And they're a fiery bunch out there right now. Their passing has been very, very good and very precise in the offensive zone early in this hockey game. Now another chance for the London Knights to try and leg it out of their own zone up the right wing side. It's Logan Hunter. He left it there for Nemeth. Nemeth tries to maneuver his way away from a Lifton. Carl Stewart gets one of the assists, and Thorburn the other, as the top unit out there tonight for the Plymouth Whalers goes to work. And now we're going to get a strap right here. It's going to be Chris Bain and Nate Kaiser, a couple of tough customers, as they back into the Plymouth area just behind the blue line. Kaiser trying to chase after Bain, who's giving up a little bit of height. What else is new for Chris Bain, who gets a couple of shots in and falls to the ice. Kaiser on top of him. And now the Plymouth bench is up in arms. Their assistant coach, Alex Roberts, not thrilled about something, as the two teams go to their separate sides as they separate the combatants, Kaiser and Chris Bain.
Well, Kaiser and Bain square off after Chris Bain leveled one of the Plymouth Whalers right in front of the London bench. Kaiser took exception to that. He goes right after Bain, and now we have players over at the two benches, and they're coming together here as the linesmen get in between them. And that had the start of something right there, because one of the Plymouth players shot a helmet into the London bench. So one of the helmets was on the ice, and Gagnon shot it into the London bench, and that got things started just as Bain and Kaiser were coming together. And we have referee Smola trying to sort this out with his linesman, Celestin.
Yeah, Logan Hunter in the penalty box along with Sean Thompson. Maybe a couple of misconducts after the shenanigans in between the two benches, which is essentially separated by a large pane of glass and an area that's being used by cameramen in here tonight. Not a big area at all, and the jawing continues.
Well, it was Gagnon that was standing out on the ice, and he was the man that shot the helmet into the London bench. It hit Brian Sticks Dennis in the arm, and that's what got things going, as we see Smola talking it over with the assistant captains from each team as to what he's going to assess from a penalty perspective. And right now on the board, Lee, we have one penalty assessed to Logan Hunter, 2 minutes.
And now we get 2 minutes up on the clock with number 16 beside it. That would be Sean Thompson. So perhaps a couple of minutes each for unsportsmanlike conduct after the fight, or would-be fight, I suppose. Bain and Kaiser really didn't get rolling, but they certainly had the intentions of doing so. After a big open ice hit was doled out there by Chris Bain.
Well, Chris Bain leveled one of the Plymouth players, and I didn't see who it was, right in front of the London bench, and that's what got all of this emotion stirred up, and that's what got it started.
Yeah, Thompson gets 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike conduct. I would assume Logan Hunter will get the same. 5 apiece for fighting, by the way, Kaiser and Bain. Yeah, so a couple of unsportsmanlike conduct minors, one for each side, and a couple of 5-minute major fighting penalties to Kaiser and Bain, and so it ends up being a wash, and we'll play 4-on-4. 9:17 left to go in the opening period. The Whalers, on the strength of a goal by Chad LaRose, lead at 1-0. It's picked up by Cole Jarrett just ahead of his own line. He ricochets it off the wall into the possession of Mark Mathot, who's played a very steady series on the back end for the London Knights. Going back to the Windsor series, and of course in game 1 against the Plymouth Whalers last night, Mathot had to line up Thompson or check that Thorburn for a check, and Thorburn was able to skirt by. Back in behind the net, Chris Thorburn looking for the loose puck. He's pinned to the back wall nicely by Weidman. Back there to scoop it up, Kyle Piovarchuk. Piovarchuk is able to gather some steam at center ice, and he gets the puck in behind the Plymouth goal. Getting chased on the play, Cheezick. He's also out there with Stedman, the two of them locked horns in behind the net, but emerging from the pack of players, here comes Jarrett. Jarrett nicely all the way up the ice, coast to coast, and a pad save made by Houle. Elegant stick handling there from the defenseman Jarrett, who got in on top of the London goal. Only Chris Houle in a pad save prevented it from being 2-0. As Cole Jarrett, we mentioned, he missed basically the month of March and the first round series against the Owen Sound attack. He looked awfully nice there as he galloped into the zone.
Well, what happened there, Lee, was we caught Weidman and Mathot together straight across. They didn't back each other up on that play, and what ends up happening is he walks right through the middle.
Al Quincy from behind his own net. 13-0. The shots on goal favoring the Plymouth Whalers, who have certainly had things their way from a territorial standpoint as well. In this opening period, Wisniewski nicely off the wall. He felt the heavy breathing of Stathopoulos in behind him, got rid of the puck, lifted back the other way off the left wing side, and it was Wisniewski who takes the pass nicely as it was in the skate area of his body, but still he was able to dig it free. Now it's picked up by Quincy. Quincy sends it to the half boards on the near side, collected by Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos has a look around. Perry was in behind the defenseman Wisniewski. They tried to spring him at the line, but the passing play does not hook up Stathopoulos to Perry. Back in behind the net, James Wisniewski burns a little bit of time. He's in no particular hurry to get the play started again, and finally he re-emerges in front of his own net on the right wing side. The pass taken there by Mitchell, who just sweeps it in. The Whalers get a chance to get a change in the midst of play, and they complete the line change. The right wing side, the pass, an errant one. Stathopoulos unable to pick it up, as we will send it downstairs to Christina.
I'm down here in the second row with a young Knights fan. What's your name?
Jackson.
You've got some really good seats. What do you like the most about them?
Because I'm behind the goalie and I really like goalies.
And you're a goalie too, right?
Yeah.
Good, but you're learning from Houle, who's a really good goalie. So coming up in the first intermission, Brent Lale will have an interview with London Knights Danny Sabrett and the play of the period. Back to you guys.
All right, Christina, thanks very much. We'll speak with you again in the second period. Mathot picks up the loose puck again, wraps it off the wall, tried to go into Dylan Hunter, the two penalized players, Hunter and Thompson back on the ice. Now Cheesick, tucked in behind his own net, takes a little body bump there from who else? Brandon Prust, who once again completes another check. Mathot feeds it ahead for Logan Hunter. And there's Cole Jarrett back there one more time along with Cheesick, his defense partners. The two of them trying to get their signals together back there. Jarrett back in behind his own net on the right wing side. They got a pass to Fiedler. Fiedler now on the left wing side into Gagnon. Gagnon whipped on the attempt to move it in, but Fiedler was right there to take the fan shot just shy of the London line. Fiedler is out there trying to dig it free along with John Vigilante, the OHL's Rookie of the Month back in October. Lifton, and that one elude his clutches. He chases after it, trying to pull away from Brandon Prost. Here come the Whalers again, hemmed into their own zone. Not for long, though. Good transition by Plymouth from defense to offense. Jimmy Gagnon just settles for sending it all the way down the ice again. It changes on the fly for the Plymouth Whalers, who have changed on the fly very fluidly so far in this hockey game. And the puck spins towards the near side glass, taken there by Mitchell. Mitchell is trying to skate away from Quincy. Mitchell got a shot away from a low percentage angle. The predicted result, not much of a shot that Chris Houle had to deal with. There's Lifton towards the front of the net. Sestito is there. Sestito right in front of the net. Tries to go to the forehand, and he just couldn't cash in front of the net as Sestito found himself with a chance in tight. And now we've got a Whaler gloving it ahead to another Whaler, and the whistle sounds.
Well, what we're seeing here tonight, Lee, is the fact that this Plymouth Whalers hockey club is very fast, and the London Knights are a little bit back on their heels right now. They're watching them play the game, and basically the London Knights are going to have to pick this game up. They're going to have to stay with the Plymouth Whalers and play their hockey game.
Well, there's no question about it. This Plymouth Whalers team is as speedy an outfit as you're going to find in the OHL. Carl Stewart, perhaps the fastest of the bunch. He's out there along with Thorburn and another speed merchant in LaRose. Back in behind the net, Weidman being challenged there by fellow number 6 Stewart. Weidman tries to wave away at it. He needs some help from Piavarchuk, and Piavarchuk is there as he helps the cause for the London Knights. It's wrapped all the way down the ice as Chizik was unable to trap it at the line. Paul Drew forced to do a little stick handling. He lost his footing on the play. That enables Weidman to slip up in front. Net, it's right there. Stedman unable to tuck it home. He had that one slither through his legs. Had a great chance to perhaps tie the affair after Paul Drew was found wandering a little bit in his own zone, and he had to scramble quickly to get back into position to take a couple of shots away from the London Knights in close. At the left wing side, Chris Thorburn is there. They're feathered ahead for Vigilante. Thorburn following up the play. Gets a shot away, a quick wrist shot towards the short side. And Houle took that one, I believe, in the pad, and it may have ricocheted off the blocker as well, as Thorburn had a little bit of the net on the far side to try and pick a spot, but elected to go for the short side, thinking he found a little bit of a seam that was exposed by Chris Houle.
And with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first period, Lee, the London Knights recorded their first shot on goal, and we just saw that shot. Right now, the Plymouth Whalers are out shooting the London Knights 15-1.
Well, you knew they were going to come out hard in this hockey game, and the talent-laden Whalers have not disappointed as advertised. They've been very solid in the first 15 minutes of this hockey game. Now back in behind the net, Corey Perry. 8 playoff games played by Corey Perry. He's recorded points in all 8. He's playing very steady hockey down the stretch. That's picked up by Perry again. He had it for a split second, and quickly he was separated from the puck, giving chase on the play. It's going to be John Vigilante, who's got a broken hockey stick that's in behind the Plymouth Whalers net. That'll have to be cleaned up when we get a chance. That's Corey Perry. Perry, softly a pass applied onto the stick of Sabret. This is a nice looking play as Hare overskated the puck as Stathopoulos handed it right to him. A shot whipped towards the goal by Hare. Stathopoulos again in the neighborhood, couldn't do much with it. Nice little play there by Danny Sabret to spot the 2 forwards lingering around the blue line and set them up with a passing play. Cole Jarrett again tries to get it out. Sabret at the line, gets the shot away. Ooh, Paul Drew played that one, but he juggled it slightly. He was able to contain the rebound, but just barely, as he got the stick out and drew the puck back in.
Well, the assignment that the London Knights have to pick up here, particularly this line, not only do they have to play offense, they have to play defense. And the best way to play defense is in the other team's end zone.
Yeah, there's no question about it. As the London Knights have seen a little bit of a rebirth of that type of philosophy here over the last couple of minutes. They've now recorded shots 2 and 3 in this period after that last sequence. Now the face-off, Dylan Hunter squares off with Gagnon. The puck again slips in behind the net. Accepted there by Chizik. Chizik dances his way towards center ice, gains center ice, and then feeds it in. A dribbler towards Chris Houle. Again, a few unwelcome guests wearing the blue shirts of the Whalers. Gagnon and Thompson were on the scene. Houle had intentions of freezing it, but he couldn't do it as it got away from his protection. Now back onto the stick of Thompson. Thompson ahead. Up to have a look at Gagnon. Gagnon was racing towards the London line. The passing play not completed by the Whalers. Gagnon tripped up in behind the play. Pat Smola had a good look at it as he and Ball were entangled with one another. No penalty called. Lifton. Back in behind his own net. Scoops it towards Tim Sestito. Sestito tracks it down. Not before. He takes a big body bump there from Bolin, whose shift is over, but not before. Pretty good jolt thrown there by the rookie Bolin. Onto the stick of Weidman. 3 to go here in the opening period. 1-0. The Whalers lead this hockey game. Ball back into his zone. Circles in behind his own net. He's going to be cut off at the pass there by LaRose. Bit of a size mismatch there as LaRose kind of bounces off the much bigger ball. Thorburn whips it in again. A save made by Houle, who cradles the puck and left it there for Dennis Weidman. Well, they're putting a lot of heat on Dennis Weidman in the London zone right now. You're only getting a chance to escape if you get by 1 or 2 Whalers that are really in your face in the London zone. Back behind the net, James Wisniewski. Wisniewski's there, a pass, a sloppy one, ends up on the stick of Weidman, who is patrolling at center ice. Now Pia Barchuk. Back into his own zone into Mathot. Mathot a look ahead. He sees LaRose out of the corner of his eye. Still a pass ahead for Stedman. Stedman couldn't handle it cleanly, and again, the Plymouth Whalers pick up the loose puck, and they'll do a little backpedaling in their own zone. This defensive tandem of Wisniewski and David Lifton. Now a pass neatly onto the stick of LaRose. LaRose weaves away from one Londonite. That was Stedman. He left in the dust. Now it's picked up by Thorburn. Another shot there by Chris Thorburn, who's had 2 or 3 of them in this opening period. As the Vigilante is on the ice now, along with Kaiser, Jarrett, John Mitchell, and Jonas Fiedler. John Vigilante on the right wing side towards Jarrett. Jarrett trying to move it ahead. That play broken up by the London Knights, who take over at their own line. Sabrat will whisk it back in, and it will be an icing charge. The fans don't like it very much, but icing it will be as the officiating crew led by Pat Smola blow it down.
As we get a shot of Kaiser. Kaiser has scored a point in all Plymouth playoff games. He has 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points in 5 games, and he captains this Plymouth Whalers hockey club.
Nate Kaiser, known more as a defensive defenseman who doesn't mind the rough going, likes to bang bodies, but you're right, he's been a bit of an offensive catalyst for the Whalers in the playoffs so far, including a goal last night in game 1 of this series. Now into the corner, Thompson is there, trying to boot it to the blade of his stick as Gagnon. Gagnon being given a bit of a rough treatment by Sabret. He's been accountable back there defensively for the London Knights in recent games, no question about that. As a matter of fact, the back end for the London Knights, one of the main reasons that they have advanced to round 2.
Certainly the back end of the London Knights, we talked about them all year at how young they've been and how well they've progressed, and we're starting to see the fruits of Dale Hunter's labor and the fact that he's put in time with these guys and he's allowed them to play all season long. Now they're veterans.
Yep, you're right. No longer rookies, I don't think. Maybe in their rookie season, but not rookies in terms of experience. They've seen it all. They've had some suspensions and injuries to deal with on the back end, and man, they've played extremely well in the regular season, and here in the playoffs, his hair is all tied up with Tim Sestito as the play is brought back up with a pass fed ahead for Gagnon. Gagnon is able to maneuver his way into Sabret, lost his footing. Sestito tries to go to the backhand. Great hustle there by the speedy Ryan Hare as he interrupted the flow the Whalers were trying to establish. Sestito trying to get on track in front of the net, but again, the hustle by Hare nullified that. Less than a minute to go in the opening period. A pass taken on the right wing side by Perry. Perry trying to get the shot away. Good job there by Cole Jarrett to look him square in the eye and stay stationary and not let Perry dance around him. On the way down the ice, the Whalers feeling the pinch a little bit, and they send it down.
Well, on that last rush, Sestito goes in. He takes Savret out, takes a pass at the same time, and he gets it across the ice, and the Plymouth Whalers have a good opportunity on Houle. Nullified by great hustle, as you pointed out, by Ryan Hare.
I'll tell you what, Hare is as speedy as any customer in the league, and hustle's never a thing you got to prod out of him, that's for sure. He just comes to play. Never an easy stride for Ryan Hare, a hard-working player out there. Mathot tries to get the shot away from the blue line area as he was able to creep up a little bit, but LaRose took that one off the body as, again, we'll get a face-off here. 14.7. Let's make it 15 seconds left to go in the opening period. The Whalers, the only goal of the contest. And the shots on goal, not exactly flattering from a London perspective. Maybe 1-0 is not a bad scenario going into the first intermission as the Knights will try and regroup. 17-3, the shots on goal favoring the Whalers.
It's going to be interesting to see how Paul Drew can keep his concentration with as little work as 3 shots so far here in the first period.
The shot here by Sabrat. As he stepped into that one, that was a laser and designed for the top of the Whalers goal, but it missed the target. Now LaRose, the dangerous LaRose, picking it up, but I believe it's going to be 2 lines. And the Whalers bench again, not thrilled about it. Mike Vellucci, Alex Roberts barking at the officials to no avail as we will get a face-off coming up back in Plymouth territory.
That's just an example of the speed LaRose has. You can't leave him alone as Mark Mathot or check that Danny Sabrett gets a shot away, and as he gets the shot away, LaRose is coming out the other side.
Sabrett spotting Weidman along the far side. One last chance for a shot towards the goal. Drew turns it aside, and after one period of play. All right, thanks, Brent, as we have a look at the shots on goal in the opening period, and certainly flattering from a Plymouth perspective.
Well, certainly the Plymouth Whalers took the game to the London Knights here, and directing 17 shots at Chris Houle, and he's a big reason this game is only 1-0 at this point. And when the London Knights are trailing after one period at home this season, they're 4-5-1. Conversely, when the Plymouth Whalers are leading after one period this season, they were 26-3-4, so they play well with the lead the same way the London Knights do.
Oh, no question about it. The Plymouth Whalers, who allowed the fewest goals in the regular season, just 174 goals allowed by the Whalers. So we talk about the offensive talent, and there's a lot of it for the Whalers, but they play pretty well in their own backyard as well. Here comes Jarrett. Maneuvering his way towards the London line. Wise there to lift his stick as it is returned deep into London territory, trying to track it down. There's Thorburn. Thorburn takes a little body bump from a herd of London Knights, including Mathot. Finally, it's wedged free there, or is it? It's still along the near side wall. Stewart now joins the fray as 5 men are bunched up. Finally, we get a whistle here as the puck was embedded into the legs of 5 players, a couple of London Knights, a couple of Plymouth Whalers. They're all looking for the puck, but all came away empty-handed.
And certainly when you see Thorburn and his line out there, you're going to see Kyle Piowarchuk and his line up, and the defensive pairing for London will be Weidman and Mathot.
No secret to that whatsoever. It's been a game plan for the London Knights going back into the regular season. A couple of very good defensive players shadowing the top players on the other side, including one right here. LaRose makes a little move, and Chris Houle outguessed him. Sprawling save by Chris Houle again, as the dangerous LaRose was lurking in front of the net again, working his magic along with Carl Stewart. Another one of those 30-plus goal scorers for the Whalers in the regular season. Nicely done in front of Chris Houle, who was kind of hung out to dry, but he still came up with a solid save.
Well, Chris Houle makes a great sprawling save here, a pad save on a 61 goal scorer during the regular season, LaRose. And what happened on that play is Dennis Weidman got caught up as the Plymouth Whalers transitioned the puck and catch them on a 2-on-1.
Wisniewski gets a pass towards Lifton. Lifton, though, had to creep out into neutral ice to take the pass as the play spills back into Plymouth territory. Again, it's Wisniewski who banks it ahead to Fiedler. Fiedler left it there for the speedy Mitchell. Mitchell takes the outside lane, trying to go to the forehand with the paddle down. It's swept aside by Chris Houle, but again, the Plymouth Whalers coming out early in a period with some purpose. Nice little deflection there by John Vigilante. And again, Houle, as the reflexes were tested right there, and Houle equal to the task again. Good puck distribution by the Plymouth Whalers, who are very much in sync in terms of distributing the puck amongst each other.
Well, certainly they are, and they move the puck rather quickly as the play comes back to Wisniewski on the point. He takes a quick shot, it's redirected, and Houle's Johnny on the spot.
Fiedler trying to chase down the loose puck fresh from the faceoff. Houle saw him coming in, decided to freeze it, and a fresh faceoff will come exactly where the last one was, to the blocker side, or the right of Chris Houle, who has seen his share of rubber in this playoff season so far. The Windsor Spitfires peppered him often in that 7-game series to open the playoffs, and the Whalers have recorded 19 shots in here as we have a minute and a half gone in the second period. John Mitchell again sweeps into the London zone, gets a shot right on target. Stick save made by Houle again, is tracked down by the Plymouth Whalers. The Whalers are hungry for the puck in the offensive zone, and the London Knights finally are able to escape unharmed. Now it's back, good pass into Kyle Quincy. Quincy trying to get a rolling puck to settle down. Shot right on target. Finally, he elected just to whip it towards Paul Drew. And now we're going to get a penalty, maybe a roughing call coming up here to maybe David Lifton, who's been fingered, I believe, by Pat Smola for a little bit of an exchange right after the Drew save.
We get a great play here by Dylan Hunter to Quincy, and Quincy just couldn't get the puck to settle down, but he gets it through as you see Lifton come in behind David Boland, give him a shot in the head, and he'll go 2 minutes for roughing to give the London Knights their second power play opportunity of the afternoon, Lee. And the Knights have 38% of their goals have come off the power play so far this playoff series this year.
Garrett behind his own net, trying to get it towards Sean Thompson. Thompson tried to lift it out of the zone, trapped there by Sabrett, who got the snapshot away, but it's going to be all for naught as a high stick made contact with the puck.
And the London Knights have Dennis Weidman with 4 power play goals and Logan Hunter with 2. But an interesting stat as well is Corey Perry has assisted on 8 power play goals so far in this playoff season, and Mike Stathopoulos on 4.
LaRose and Stewart there for the Plymouth Whalers. Only killing assignment now for those 2 offensively gifted forwards. Nate Kaiser and Cole Jarrett on the backhand. Up the left wing side, Mike Stathopoulos makes his way. A nice little pass at Weidman, who breaks it up and scores. Bullet shot from the guy who was voted to have the hardest shot in the Western Conference, Dennis Weidman. A howitzer that beats Paul Drew, and we're tied at a goal apiece again. The power play for the London Knights. It's been their bread and butter all season long, and it continues in that vein.
Well, Dennis Weidman takes a pass high in the slot, and he just blows it by Drew on the glove side, and Weidman takes the path from Stathopoulos as you get Danny Bois in front of the net, creating a bit of havoc for Paul Drew and giving him something else to concentrate on, and that's Dennis Weidman's 5th power play goal so far in this playoff season.
So the London Knights with their 4th shot on goal in this hockey game, and it's a dandy by Dennis Weidman. That one hit the back of the net in an awful hurry, and Drew is trying to collect himself back there for the Plymouth Whalers. Here they come again. Hard-working Rick Stedman. Stedman, a man to beat in Kaiser. Kaiser gives him a little bit of a bump as the puck squirts into the near side corner. Cole Jarrett in behind his own net. He'll be greeted there by Weir, steps into him. Weidman, his 6th goal of the postseason. Weidman, boy, I tell you what, there was a scorch mark on the ice right around the blue line after that one. Bois gets an assist, along with Stathopoulos, who helped engineer the play. But you're right, Danny Bois did a nice job making a nuisance of himself in front of Paul Drew. Now LaRose tries to get the trigger going there in the slot area as the shot does not make its way towards Chris Houle. Mathai digs it free in his own zone, trying to get it up and out. That's intercepted by LaRose. LaRose trying to fade to the right to cut around Piovarchuk. Nice job there by Kyle Piovarchuk to staple LaRose to the back wall after the first move was made by the elusive forward for the Plymouth Whalers. Bang back in, Chizik accepts the rebound off the back wall, trying to center it towards Wisniewski with a pass. Actually, Wisniewski was along the near side boards, but it hit the back of the skate of Gagnon. No harm, no foul, as they say, as the Whalers they get out of it unscathed. Now a shot blockered into the corner by Paul Drew.
Well, one thing the London Knights have been able to do, Lee, this entire playoff run is as soon as they get an opportunity, they seem to come back with a high energy shift right after, and they're scoring goals on these shifts. And we just seen it again with the London Knights scoring a goal on a very opportune play on the power play, and they come right back with a high energy shift, and we're seeing that time and time again.
Dylan Hunter off the faceoff draws it back towards Jimmy Ball, but Ball to scamper into neutral ice to get the play reorganized for the London Knights. Up the left wing side, Jimmy Ball gets the shot away. And Gagnon come together. Gagnon getting the worst of that exchange as he fell to the ice. Dylan Hunter with his man trapped against the wall again as Sean Thompson, another one of the hardworking forwards for the Plymouth Whalers. Back there now, Dave Lifton. Good defenseman in this league for the last couple of years. Goes to show you that you don't have to be drafted too high to be an effective player. David Lifton, a 16th round pick for the Whalers back in 2000. The left wing side, Dylan Hunter lobs it back in again, knocked down by Lifton, who's extremely reliable in his own zone. He takes a body bump there as the London Knights are starting to enhance their physical presence in this hockey game, and I think they had to, as the Whalers had some liberties in the opening period in terms of the amount of room they had to operate in.
Well, certainly this Plymouth Whalers club isn't as big as the Windsor Spitfires were in the first round, so you're getting these big hits, and they need that in order to slow this hockey club down as you get Bain taking a big run at Lifton, and that's the second big hit for Bain in as many shifts, and he's making his presence felt out there physically.
They're going to face off just ahead of the London line. Mitchell in the crouch position against the veteran Stathopoulos. 15:32 left to go in period number 2. Tied at a goal apiece. The Whalers with a power play goal from the top power play trigger man in the OHL in the regular season in Chad LaRose. And a power play goal in return by the London Knights and Dennis Weidman, who uncorked one from the blue line. Off the left wing side, here comes Hare. Look ahead to see the coast is clear, at least for a moment. He whips it in, going to the attack now is the tandem of Hare and Perry, as Drew has to get himself away from a couple of would-be forecheckers for the London Knights. Perry trying to squirm away from his check. Good job there to get away from Fiedler, centering pass against Sabrett, who's not been shy about abandoning his post at the blue line to try and chip in offensively again. He tried to do it, but this time around, the London Knights unable to capitalize. Back to the blue line area. Sabrett couldn't trap it there, as it's Kyle Quincy in his own zone being watched by John Mitchell. Mitchell will pick up the loose puck. John Mitchell, he's got a man on the right wing side, another on the left. Fiedler is there on the right end. Vigilante chases after the loose puck into the corner. He'll come away with it, tripped up on the play by Quincy. And again, nothing called by Pat Smol, who's letting the play once again. Again, solid officiating by Pat Smol, who did a good job in the opening round. Now it's picked up by Perry, centering pass in front. Hare was there, and he just couldn't negotiate the pass in front of the net. This is Mathot. He whips it to an open wing. Perry lunges out the stick to try and gather it in. Cole Jarrett has other ideas. He swats it away from the Whalers zone. Mitchell takes his man out of the play. Now it's lobbed back in. Nate Kaiser will track it down and rumble in behind his own net. Neatly off the wall to get it back to Jarrett, as Kaiser was having some trouble with the forechecking of Rick Stedman. Again, it's a whip down the ice. Jarrett's pretty much one of those deals. He's kind of had enough and fired it down the ice and figures, let's let another unit get out there and see what they can do.
And certainly we're sensing a little switch in momentum here. The Plymouth Whalers had the bulk of the play in the first period, but ever since London has scored, you can feel that the London Knights are coming on.
And it comes down again to the good goaltending of Chris Houle, who bailed his teammates out after a bit of an off period in period number one. Houle was there with the answer all but one time in that opening period.
And Houle will continue to have to show that type of goaltending throughout this series, as this is a rather potent offense that the Plymouth Whalers can put out.
Lifton and the LaRose has to move it up. Mathot at the line. There's a wrist shot nowhere near the target. It might have hit something on the way in. We've got a fall-in Whaler centering pass in front. It's right there for Stedman, who rang it off the post. Ball with a second opportunity. Post-to-post lateral movement from Drew, who was able to hold fort in front. And another couple of saves there for Paul Drew. And if your point you just made a minute ago, Rick, the fact that the London Knights are starting to turn the tide a little bit, if it wasn't true then, it's now true, because the London Knights have had 3 or 4 solid shifts in a row.
Well, Stedman knocks it off the post. It goes to the other side to Danny Bois, and Danny Bois has a good opportunity, but Paul Drew gets up, goes post to post to make the save, but that was just good hard work by Stedman to get that forecheck going and get the puck out in front of the net.
Bowling again going to the forecheck for the London Knights. Weir's there in the corner being watched by Gagnon. Weir tries to escape the clutches of Gagnon. He's got another man to deal with now in Lifton, as the loose puck is gobbled up there by Sestito, who tried to wrap it off the wall and get it out. Now a foot race for the puck. Thompson with one man to beat, and Nemeth Thompson in a shot. And a glove save made by Houle. He almost had to make a second one, as that one trickled through his legs. It was not on target. A dangerous play. The follow-up chance for Sean Thompson, who stayed with it. The second helping almost proved fruitful for the Plymouth Whalers right there. Going to get a penalty coming up here, I believe, to the London Knights. Maybe the Whalers. Actually, it's going to be Chris Houle making his way over to the bench, and so check that. It will be the Whalers that will be penalized on the play. Pat Smola issues a high sticking call as we have Ball and Gagnon coming together. And I believe it might be Sean Thompson, who had back-to-back chances not long ago, making his way to the penalty box.
Well, Sean Thompson gets his stick up on Adam Nemeth, as Adam Nemeth comes out to forecheck on the play. And you see him give him the cross check right in the face at the top of your screen as Nemeth goes down, and Thompson will come and give the London Knights their 3rd power play opportunity of the evening, and they're 1 for 2 so far tonight.
So 12 for 50, the power play work of the London Knights in the postseason. Coming into this evening's game, 11 goals for 48 chances. And that was math even I could handle on the fly there. Behind his own net, emerging in front of the goal is Perry and Weidman trying to get themselves together. Mitchell doing a rather aggravating job of forechecking from a London perspective, but still the Knights able to escape out of their own zone up the left wing side. The captain, Danny Bois, rough going in the corner again with another Whaler. That was a Fiedler. Now back onto the stick towards Sabrett. A pass now to the near side, and Perry in front of net, centering pass. It was about ankle high, and unable to corral it there was Danny Bois, was nestled in front of the net. Bois chases after the loose puck again. I'll tell you what, the London Knights have picked up their game big time, as the Plymouth Whalers are somewhat reeling a little bit. The shots have tightened up at 21-8, as Chris Houle is forced to field it in behind his own net. Back there is Dennis Weidman. Weidman had a notion to give it off to Perry, but he still remains with the puck in hand. He drags the puck towards center ice. Nice little pass on the right wing side towards Perry. Perry unable to handle it. He chases after the loose puck with some vigor, though, and takes his man in behind the net. That's Dave Lifferton. Now back there is Perry. Perry gets a pass towards Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos, a diagonal feed back to the blue liner. Weidman in front of the net as the passing play was designed for Perry, who Weidman saw to the corner of his eye. The pass delivered. Perry unable to shovel it home. Weidman with another chance. Goes to the forehand. It's right there. Perry had to stuff it home. And Paul Drew had the pad in position. Stathopoulos gets teed up for Weidman. He tries to get a shot away. And a big glove save made by Paul Drew, who's been peppered big time over the last 5-6 minutes of this second period. Another shot leaned into there by Weidman, and the leather exposed by Drew made a quality save again.
Well, Drew makes a great glove save on this play, and it's just great puck movement by the London Knights as they get it down low and move it back out to the high slot, Lee, and they're getting great opportunities from the high slot, and particularly to Dennis Weidman.
Dylan Hunter exchanging words pre-face-off with Jimmy Gagnon, the veteran. Off the draw. Soccer style is booted back to the blue liner. Weidman, who goes to the middle of the line, gets the shot away. Boy, that was deflected in front, and Drew had to scramble to try and get into position. It was wide of the target, but again, the puck doing tricks in front of the Plymouth goaltender, who all of a sudden, if he wasn't before, is definitely into the game. As we've got a couple of seconds left to go in the minor to Sean Thompson, who is standing up and prepared to resume duty on the ice. Now a chance here for Logan Hunter on a bit of a broken play. Walks right in again. Drew makes the save as Logan Hunter, I think, was trying to pick the corner up high. Didn't get enough elevation on the shot, and Paul Drew comes up with another big save. So a bit of a recycled play there for the London Knights. Logan Hunter found himself with the opportunity to walk right in, and Drew looked him square in the eye and made another fine save.
Well, that's one of the times that you're walking in off the wing, and he's a left-hand shot coming in off the right-hand side, and he's being chased to the far post. He had to get the shot away quickly, and Drew could play the angle on it.
10:48 left to go in another entertaining second period thus far. 21-11 the shots on goal. That's been kind of a sidebar story in this hockey game. The Whalers ran out to a huge lead in that department in this hockey game, and it's slowly but surely being tightened up by the London Knights with some relentless play in the Plymouth zone in recent minutes.
Well, we talked about it, Lee, earlier, in that the London Knights seem to be able to come back and they get a lift out of a goal, and that's exactly what's happened here, and the momentum has shifted right into London Knights' favor.
It's a tremendously resilient hockey club, this version of the London Knights, kind of Teflon coated, as we will take a break, and when we send it down to Christina.
I'm here with the Wisniewski family in the Plymouth Whalers section. Now, Plymouth swept the series and had a little over a week to prepare for this one. How do you think that affected your brother and his team?
I think in the long run it gave him a good rest, and it'll help as far as going through the rest of the series healthy and strong.
Thank you very much. Coming up in the second, Brent Lale will have an interview with the Whalers' Chad LaRose. Our segment, Business of the O, and the play of the period. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Christina. As it was, I believe, swatted over the glass and into the crowd. 10-22 left to go in period two, tied at a goal apiece.
Well, Lee, we get the surprising Guelph Storm leading the Kitchener Rangers 1-0 in the first period in that game after upsetting the Sarnia Sting in the first round. So we'll have to keep our eye on the Guelph Storm.
The coaches for the Sarnia Sting in attendance just to my left, just over my shoulder. Jeff Perry and Greg Walters taking this one in. Now back to the line. Kaiser with a shot. Stick save made there by Chris Houle. And gently it's lofted out by the captain, Bois. Kaiser backpedals in his own zone to try and keep his check at bay. That was Rick Stedman again with some pursuit. Cole Jarrett. He's got a skating lane that opens up. He just wraps it in behind the London Knight net. Thorburn is there, nearly collared on the play by Weidman. Thorburn, a big, strong kid, a Sault Ste. Marie native, withstood the blow and stayed in the play. We're going to get a penalty right here. I believe Pia Barchuk for manhandling Carl Stewart. A very slick skater out there for the Plymouth Whalers, and I would assume perhaps this unit will stay right where they are on the ice. LaRose, Thorburn, and Stewart as some power play time is forthcoming for the Whalers.
Well, this was a pretty easy penalty for Smola to call. As you see, Kyle Piavarchuk pull the sweater of Stewart, and he hauls Stewart down, and when he pulled the sweater, you can notice it stretched for about a yard behind
Not
him.
those old tearaways they had in college football back in the 70s.
So Smola had a pretty easy time of giving the Plymouth Whalers their second power play opportunity of the evening.
Cole Jarrett Maneuvers to the middle of the line. Wisniewski's out there as well. LaRose, Thorburn, and Stewart was camped out in front of the net awaiting a pass. Now again, it's Chris Thorburn. LaRose has lost his stick. Actually, he's broken the stick. He went back to the bench to retrieve one as the bench was right there. Now that broken stick is wreaking havoc on the playmaking of Chris Thorburn. Thorburn again trying not to get away from the stick, but a couple of others as well. The stick was in his way, as were a couple of London Knights. Back to the line, Wisniewski trying to get the shot through some traffic. Now Cole Jarrett pinches in. They're trying to get a shot towards LaRose. LaRose continues on as he makes his way around Corey Perry. Back to the middle of the line again, it's Wisniewski. Right wing side, Cole Jarrett. He creeps up from his blue line position. He tried to get a pass into Stewart. The two of them were rather close together, and the passing play not completed. Now back into Wisniewski. Wisniewski tries a shot, and it's batted out of the zone by Mark Mathon again. Sticks all over the place, or remnants of sticks anyway. I believe that's Corey Perry's stick that's gliding down towards the Plymouth line. Now it's fed all the way back down the ice by Weidman. As Wisniewski has a look over his shoulder to see Stedman right there. Stedman is able to pick the puck free from Wisniewski. Stedman one more time. Stedman looking for a man in front of the net. It's going to be Matt Weir who finally arrives on the scene. Stedman with some great play to keep the Plymouth Whalers at bay as he was surrounded by Whalers, but still he was able to rag the puck. Now back in behind the net, LaRose trying to get away from Weidman. LaRose took a spill on the play. Weidman is able to get it up and out to Stedman. Stedman trying to get it off the wall. Instead, it goes into the Plymouth Whalers bench with a little bit over 8 minutes left to go in period number 2.
Well, what happens on this power play, Lee, is that they try to move it high to Wisniewski. He's similar to Weidman. He plays high in the slot. You've got LaRose playing off the half boards on the off wing, and you've got Jarrett, the other defensive partner, sliding down on the half boards, and they try to move it back to Wisniewski all the time to get the shot away and get some traffic down low.
We get Weir in the face-off circle against John Mitchell. An update in the Rangers Storm game. The Rangers now lead that one by a score of 2-1. Back in behind the London net. Weidman on the puck, but not for very long as it slipped away from his possession. Now Mathot and behind his own net, tried to bang it up and out as the Whalers are now trying to reestablish the territorial advantage in this hockey game as it was swiped away from them by the upstart London Knights earlier on, as the Whalers have kind of had things their way a little bit since that power play time.
Certainly, and the London Knights so far in this period are out shooting the Plymouth Whalers 8-5, Lee, and that's pretty indicative of the play. They've held the edge in play. You can see a momentum shift early in this period, and right now they're playing pretty equal.
You're right, the London Knights grab that momentum, that all-important momentum in this second period. They have a goal here in the middle frame, and as you mentioned, a little bit of an edge in the shots recorded so far in the middle period. Dylan Hunter tried to bang it out. Nate Kaiser pinches in to try and hem him in. Again, it's one-handed out of the zone by Dylan Hunter. Saved at the line, though, by Kaiser with a good play, who had to make an adjustment right at the line. Mitchell trying to drag it out. Boland is there to interrupt the flow, as once again the Plymouth Whalers are trying to get out of their own zone, but the London Knights have other ideas. Dylan Hunter and a slice away from Mitchell. Mitchell gives him a little body bump, but Logan Hunter is right there. He's got Quincy. He passes off to him in the slot. Quincy in front of the net. Boland was there. He was down, but a nice play by Boland as he let the puck kind of tickle his stick, trying to escort the puck towards Paul Drew. Another centering pass attempted by the first-year man, Boland. That was an intelligent play. He was kind of laying down. He didn't have a lot of options, but he decided to try and go for the deflection as the puck made its way towards the crease area.
Well, the London Knights get a good scoring opportunity here, and it comes off the cycle as Quincy has it high in the slot. You see Boland down. He just deflects it past the far post, and Drew tried to kick out his pad in order to make the save, as we see Lifton going off the ice as Corey Perry has an 8-game playoff point streak going. And he, with that 8-game point streak, he has 4 goals and 10 assists. He leads the league with 14 points in the playoffs so far.
I'll tell you what, Dave Lifton, one of the real reliable defensive defensemen, not just for the Whalers, but around the OHL, making his way to the cutway as the Whalers had to go without Ryan Ramsey for a good chunk of last night's game, and in here tonight, a bad hip, and now we believe a bad hand for Ryan Ramsey. Now a chance in front of the net, centering pass for Perry, who snapped it quickly, and Drew came over and made a pad save. Up the left wing side, here comes Sean Thompson. Thompson just nudges it ahead to try and get it away from Nemeth. The two of them lock horns in behind the net. Perry takes his man on the play. That was Gagnon. who's trying to shake off the remnants of the hit and get back into the play. Up the right wing side, Perry unable to gather in the pass that was laid in his direction by Jimmy Ball. In behind the net, Stathopoulos, a centering pass for Hare, who is in front of the net. And they don't hook up. Mathot on his own blue line, the veteran out there. Weidman helping out Mathot, the youngster, the apprentice, and the journeyman. Mathot draws it back towards his own blue line, feeds it ahead for Hare. Hare couldn't handle it as he tried to contain it, but Thompson eliminated him on the play. Bois and Sestito come together as Danny Bois has it one more time. It's just knifed towards the Plymouth line, knocked down by James Wisniewski. Wisniewski spins a little 180 turn there to get it to the London line. Wisniewski again dispatched into his own zone. He'll get some help from Chizik. Nearly a little bit of a pick there on Rick Stedman, but he got away with it. Dennis Weidman. A look around. A rink-wide feed towards Mathot. Mathot just one-hands it out of the zone as he mishandled the pass. Applied there by Dennis Weidman again. Up the left wing side, trying to skirt by the activity as Mathot. Here comes Piavarchuk. He made a little move to gain himself a little bit of real estate as he swung away from Kaiser. The shot right on target, and Paul Drew has no trouble with that one from well out on the perimeter.
As we get a shot of Chris Thorburn, in 5 games, he's recorded 6 points. And he, of course, former North Bay Centennial, former Saginaw Spirit, came over in a trade this year with the Saginaw Spirit. And if the Plymouth Whalers get past this round, they give up another pick to the Saginaw Spirit.
And of course, Taylor Raska going the other way. The first-round pick for the Whalers this time around, now in the colors of the Saginaw Spirit. Tell you what, Chris Thorburn, one of the best guys that I got to know around the Ontario Hockey League as far as the players are concerned. I was with him for 2 years in North Bay. Just a quality kid and a quality family. Now back into his own zone, Dennis Weidman, a look ahead. Stewart will come in and give him a little bump. The Atlanta Thrashers property. Carl Stewart. Stewart tried a centering pass. It hit the back of the net, and it's collected there by Mark Mathot, who swings away from LaRose. Now Mathot gets to the center ice and feeds it in, and he's knocked down on the play. He has a little look up to see what's going on, perhaps to take a number, as LaRose has it on the right wing side. He tried to get it towards Vigilante. Vigilante arrived on the scene and not in the nick of time, and he couldn't do anything with it. Here comes LaRose again, trying to find Vigilante back there to help out his cross. Now another chance for Vigilante, who gave it off to Mitchell. And we're going to get a penalty coming up here. In behind the play along the far wall, 2 players sprawled on the ice. One of them's LaRose.
And it looks like Chris Bain is the other player, as LaRose is going to go off here. 2 minutes for high sticking, and this happened behind the play. As you watch the top of your screen, as you see LaRose take a swipe with his stick, and Bain takes the brunt of that right across the face, and he's down in the corner receiving some treatment from trainer Don Brankley, as LaRose is being escorted off the ice.
This might be 5 in a game.
This could be 5 in a game for LaRose, and that would be you can see that Chris Bain is cut right across the top of the nose as LaRose takes an awful swipe at him with that stick.
And Mike Vellucci at the Plymouth bench with something of a mock ovation, as he's not thrilled with the call, and I believe it is 5 in a game to Chad LaRose, so a very expensive penalty, not just in terms of the minutes the London Knights will have on the power play, but when you lose a 61-goal shooter and one of the top game breakers in the OHL, he's one of the best trigger men around, and he's unavailable for the rest of the night. LaRose, 5 in a game, high sticking, we're assuming, is the call.
And Chris Bain takes that shot right across the nose, and his nose is bleeding, and that seems to be what the referees have been advised to do, is call all stick infractions, and they did that in the first series against the Windsor Spitfires. Most of them were stick infractions, and basically on that play, LaRose took his stick in baseball style and swung it around. You've got to be in control of your stick. Whether he meant to hit Bain or not, you can't tell. However, he did make a baseball style swing, and Bain was at the other end of it.
So the London Knights with a 5-minute power play here in a game that's tied at a goal apiece with 4 minutes and a little bit left to go in the second period. Stathopoulos is out there. It's swept in by Sabret. Now the London Knights go to the attack. Bois clipped there by Kaiser. Kaiser gave him a little bit of a... That catch that a match penalty was given out to LaRose? I thought I heard a match penalty.
I didn't catch it.
I didn't catch it either.
All I heard was
we'll try and get it for you.
in the game, obviously, but we will try and get that. as the net was knocked off behind Paul Drew. Thus the faceoff comes out over the Plymouth Whalers blue line.
Gold Jarrett will burn a few seconds until he's challenged by a Londonite. Finally, he rifles it back in. Now it's picked up in behind the net by Ball. Ball looking ahead up the near side. A pass applied onto the stick of Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos gets it back to Wyman. Now to feed ahead to Bois. Bois able to penetrate into Plymouth territory. He cuts to the right as he tries to swing in action. Now at the half boards on the near side. The creative Stathopoulos gets it into Perry. Perry returns the favor and maneuvers it back to Stathopoulos. Back in behind the net. A chase ensues. Tim Sestito's there. He takes a body bump, but he gets the job done as he gets the puck as far as center ice. The London Knights trying to reorganize in neutral ice. Winding it up there is Perry. Up the left wing side, Corey Perry, who's had a great playoff series so far, at least against the Windsor Spitfires, and a pretty good night last night against the Whalers. Shot from the point by Weidman. That pinballs off the leg of Thompson in front of the net once again. The puck bounds away from a couple of London Knights, including Bois, who hangs around the scene in front. Danny Bois being watched by Cole Jarrett. Bois feathers it in behind the net. Stathopoulos will take a light bump from Kaiser. That will enable Thompson to get it up, but not out. Kept alive with the line by Weidman. Now back into the corner. Stathopoulos checks back with a pass to Weidman. Weidman took it off the boot of the skate, transferred it to the blade of his stick in quick order to keep things going. Now trying to stuff it in with the wraparound with Stathopoulos, who found a little bit of a seam in the near side. And he tried the wraparound play, but Drew, recognizing what was taking place in front of him in the developing play, and moved over to the post and kept it out. 2:26 left to go in period number 2, a little bit more than 3 in the 5-minute major taken by Chad LaRose. That will certainly have a lot to do, perhaps, with the outcome of this hockey game. Chad LaRose, one of the best in the O. Back in his own zone. Dennis Weidman retrieves it. The left wing side, Dylan Hunter. And it is whistled dead.
Well, Dylan Hunter was standing on the wrong side of the red line. That'll be a two-line pass, Lee. However, we just did verify, and Chris Burkholz down in the truck verified that was a match penalty.
I thought I heard match penalty. Didn't want to speak out of turn by any means, but I thought it was safe enough that I heard it from Joe Pellich that it was a match.
And referee Smola called the match. And I believe there's a suspension that goes along with that, particularly when it's a stick infraction.
I'll wait and see what happens there. Certainly a sidebar story to the proceedings in here tonight. Now a double team job there by a couple of London Knights who take Fiedler out to the near wall. Now Sabrat scoops it back in. Giving chase on the play was Newski, trying to wrap it around the wall. Dylan Hunter was there to hug his body against the boards, and he kept it going. Now a spinning puck taken there at the line by Kyle Quincy. Quincy rounding into shape as he speeds his way to the Plymouth line. A shot at the stick of Quincy and right in the midsection. Paul Drew, no worries there as he hangs on for a face-off which will come in Plymouth territory.
As the London Knights have just had their 12th shot on goal directed at Paul Drew in this period, and that's a story of 2 periods. In the first period, the London Knights were back on their heels. In the second period here, it's the Plymouth Whalers that are back on their heels, and the deeper this game goes at a 1-1 draw, it goes in the London Knights' favor, in my opinion.
No question about it. There's no doubt about it. The London Knights relish that type of a situation against a club they're giving up a little bit of skill against. A shot there by Thorburn, cut down by Houle up the left wing side. Picked off there by Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos will ring it around the wall in behind the net. Now again, Cole Jarrett is there. He tried to get it out. That hit the back of Thorburn. A loose puck in front of the net. And Bolin sent it wide as the puck was kind of turning on end. He couldn't get it settled down to his satisfaction after a bit of a broken play in the Plymouth zone. 1 minute left to go here in period number 2. Stathopoulos a step or two over the line as he gets it into the near side corner again. It's Perry tracking it down. They work it back to the trigger man of the blue line, Weidman. Weidman had a notion to shoot it, but Gagnon was right in his range in front of the net. They're right there. They continue to fish around for it. And now we get a little bit of shoving. Thorburn in there along with Perry. Now Jarrett goes over to Perry and mugs him a little bit, and this is where the discipline word comes into play for both these hockey clubs. The outcome of this game, without a doubt, is in doubt, and no one wants to take that extra 2-minute infraction.
And certainly Corey Perry is going to get flagged here for a penalty, and I believe that referee Smola will even this up. And discipline is key in the hockey game, particularly a 1-1 hockey game, as you see Corey Perry come off the down low play and he tries to sneak one by, and this is where all the nonsense starts as Perry takes a shot at Thorburn, and Cole Jarrett being the third man in right here, and I don't believe Cole Jarrett is going to get called for a penalty, as we'll see some 4-on-4 hockey here as Corey Perry goes 2 minutes for roughing.
Well, I suppose Pat Smola could have looked at both Thorburn and Cole Jarrett as antagonists in that, as well as they were right in the thick of things, nose to nose with the one penalized player on the play in Corey Perry. And so the Plymouth Whalers will have a brief power play. 1:27 left to go in the 5-minute major to Chad LaRose. A fresh 2 up on the board for Corey Perry. And of course, that power play is contingent on no more penalty time for the Whalers. Wisniewski will pass into Fiedler. Fiedler has to march into London territory. Jonas Fiedler taken there nicely by Weidman. A good defensive play there by Dennis Weidman. Boy, we talk about his hard shot and his offensive skills an awful lot, and rightfully so, but he's pretty good in his own backyard as well. Now picked up by Mitchell. Mitchell gliding into action. Gets it into Fiedler. Fiedler trying to get something going here as the London Knights are in defensive mode. Back into Nate Kaiser. Kaiser, a couple of goals in the playoffs from the back end for the veteran. Kaiser now another stick that's sawed off in half. Wisniewski's not too thrilled about it. Not much he can do by staying out there, and so he's replaced by Cole Jarrett after he was not thrilled with the flaw in the middle of that hockey stick, which took away the shot opportunity. 1-1 after 2 periods of play. We'll send it downstairs and be back with third period action. And that's upstairs on Drew. Has a little trouble with the puck. Kind of played it like a hot potato a little bit back there, but he got away with it as the puck is flushed in behind the net. A number of players looking for the puck to free it up. Finally is picked free there by Stedman. Stedman working along Nate Kaiser, a big burly defenseman back there for the Plymouth Whalers. A thought at the blue line. Trying to get the shot away. Can't do it though, as he's got a man in front of him in Vigilante. Into the corner again. Fiedler working alongside Stedman as the play is at close quarters in behind the net. Centering pass into Stedman, and he went between his legs. Bit of a sneak of attack shot there by Stedman, who has turned back on the play, but still found time and the intelligence to make a play out of it. And Drew had to look up to see the shot was coming via the back end as Stedman went into his bag of tricks for that shot on goal, or towards the goal. Back to the blue line. Jarrett scores! Screen shot in front of the net with a number of bodies circling in front of Chris Houle, as Jarrett got a wrist shot that had eyes through, and it beats Chris Houle, and it's 2-1.
Well, Cole Jarrett scores the second power play goal for the Plymouth Whalers here this evening as he receives the puck high in the slot. He hesitates for a moment, waits for the London defense to get in front of Chris Houle, and the London defense gets in front of Houle. And Houle had no chance on that as it goes low on the glove side, and that puts the Plymouth Whalers up 2-1 on the London Knights with 18:53 left here in the second period.
So Cole Jarrett, the Columbus Blue Jackets prospect, who missed all of March and the first round series against the Owen Sound Attack, records his first goal of the postseason right there, and it's a big one for the Whalers indeed, as Jarrett gets number 1. Now back on the stick of Quincy. Quincy just tries to feather it in. He got it as far as the Plymouth bench and no further. Once again, it's Kyle Quincy at center ice. Able to one-hand it to the near side boards into Boland. The puck clips to the head of Smola on the way through. Wisniewski gets an assist. And I believe that is the only assist on the goal by Cole Jarrett. So the two defensemen collaborate for the Plymouth Whalers on that goal. And another assist has been now added on that goal. And Chris Thorburn gets his second helper of the hockey game. So Jarrett from Wisniewski and Thorburn at 107.
And that quickly puts the Plymouth Whalers out 2-on-1. And the London Knights don't want to play a wide open style of hockey game against the Plymouth Whalers. What they prefer to do is keep the score at 1-1 and capitalize on the opportunities, as the London Knights have been doing that all playoff long.
Well, we'll see if the Whalers take perhaps a page from the London Knights strategy book and go into something of a defensive mode themselves. But knowing the Plymouth Whalers and how much offensive muscle they have to flex, perhaps they're going to try and add to that 2-1 advantage they now enjoy early in this third period, as the London Knights will try and get back into this one with a goal of their own.
Well, I had the opportunity to talk to Bill Prisniak in between the periods, and Bill was telling me that match penalty called on LaRose will be reviewed by Ted Baker at the league office, and Ted Baker will make the decision as to whether it's a suspension or not.
Weidman in behind his own net. There's a little body bump from Thompson. Stewart able to track it down on the far side. Now back out the other way. Here comes Kyle Piavarchuk speeding his way to the red line and dumps it in. Now they go after it. Stedman out there with Piavarchuk. Jarrett staples his man to the back wall with a good aggressive hit on Stedman in behind the net. Jarrett continues to give Stedman the business in behind the play as Piavarchuk is there. Finally, he lays a stick on it, and the London Knights try and cycle it around as they work it low on the forecheck. 17-14 left to go in the third period. 2-1 the score. The Whalers on a goal by Cole Jarrett here in the third period have taken the 1-goal advantage as that would-be shot by Bois sails into the air and into the protective netting, and we'll get a face-off.
And we have an update here from Guelph as the Kitchener Rangers have staked themselves to a 4-1 lead in the second period, and the Ottawa 67s have jumped out in front of the Oshawa Generals 1-0 in the first period.
Nearly 3 gone here in period number 3. Leigh Cunningham, Rick Doyle, Brent Lale, Christina Winkles with you as a long shot comes off the stick of Quincy, and out to spear it with the glove is Paul Drew, who saw an awful lot of action in that second period. Much like Chris Houle back in the opening period when the Plymouth Whalers had things going their way and peppered the London overage goaltender with a number of quality chances. Now the face-off. Chizek works it to the near side corner, trying to leg it out and catch up with the puck is Wisniewski. Wisniewski able to punch it as far as the London line. That's where we find the London Knights defensive tandem of Sabret and Quincy trying to reorganize. Back into the corner. Dug free by Hare. Hare unable to get it out. Back up the left wing side. Here comes Vigilante. Vigilante feeds it ahead. A fast forward pass onto the stick of Mitchell, who's knocked to the ice. Thrown down there by Danny Sabret after the play. Sabret going to slip it back towards Hare. That one will glide all the way down the ice. And Wisniewski back to touch up. Wisniewski in his own zone. Gets it towards the Fiedler. Fiedler dashes to the red line and gains it and fires it in. Now back towards Sabret. Sabret tucked in behind his own net. A couple of Whalers dispatched there to do some forechecking. And Mahan, who's playing, I believe, his first shift of the hockey game out there with Tim Sestito. So Mahan out there getting some shifts with the absence of Chad LaRose now playing that. What a nice little play by Stathopoulos as he was able to cut in front of the net and get the shot away. And Drew makes the save as Stathopoulos looked very nice there as he made his way in, found himself with some open room and closed right in. But again, Paul Drew made the save on the lower part of his leg.
Well, Mike Stathopoulos skates into the slot as Corey Perry finds himself all alone in front of the net. And Paul Drew comes up with a big save to keep this game in favor of the Plymouth Whalers 2-1 with 15:53 left here in the third period.
Saw Stathopoulos, who stays out there, go against the grain. Actually, Stathopoulos has been replaced by Logan Hunter, who's out there for a spin. Now it's Mahan. Taken out of the play. Logan Hunter continues to search for the puck as he gives Mahan a couple little shots in the back of the head for good measure. The puck is under somebody. And the officiating crew, led in here tonight by Pat Smola, elects to start fresh with a face-off.
As Logan Hunter has some words with Gagnon, and Logan Hunter is one of those players that can get under your skin if you're an opposing player.
Can be an irritant, no doubt about it.
And he has performed rather well in this playoff season for the London Knights.
No passengers for the London Knights. They've had to have everyone going, and they have. Now rebound, another juicy rebound in front of net. Bois tried to close in on it, but the Whalers come away unscathed as we have a falling Plymouth Whaler. That's Thorburn, who's trying to lead the charges up ice. Wisniewski trying to trap it, but Stedman bettered him as he chopped it away from the veteran defenseman Wisniewski, another former first-round pick for the Whalers, who has been very much a catalyst for this program over the last couple of years. Stewart, a little inside-out move attempted there on Mathot. Mathot didn't buy what Stewart was selling and took it away from him. Now back to Thorburn once again, who just lobs it in behind the net. Mathot gives chase as Weidman has his man contained. That's the speedy Carl Stewart. Now back to Nate Kaiser. Kaiser right in front of the London bench will just whip it in. And I think Thompson was a little bit late coming out as he tried to scramble back into neutral ice, and he failed to do so.
Well, the Plymouth Whalers are taking a bit of a page out of the London Knights book here as we see a little bit of a trap played by the Plymouth Whalers as we have
the Whalers now moving the puck in neutral ice. Jarrett Able to volley it in. Brought down by the London Knights. Right with a nice little pass to an open man on the left wing side. Here comes across the centering pass in front of Bolin. Bolin couldn't reach out and gather it in as he was tied up there by Cole Jarrett, who got back defensively. Nice little first pass there by the back end again for the London Knights. Now barging their way in, a couple of Whalers, including Vigilante and Fiedler. They come away empty, though, as the London Knights get it as far as the blue line. Snapped there by Nate Kaiser. And out comes the glove of Chris Houle to hang on.
As we get a shot of tonight's attendance at 8,950 in here this evening, Lee. That brings the playoff total in 4 games so far this season to 32,775, or an average of about 8,200 people a game.
Very good. Once again, the support continues on here in this community, as you knew it would, as the playoff season has reached the second round, and the London Knights still going.
Well, Lee, in the regular season, the London Knights drew 258,000, and so far here in the playoffs, they've drawn 32,000, so they're up above 290,000 so far this season in the John Labatt Center. And as you say, the support is overwhelming and outstanding for the London Knights.
Has been since these two teams christened the new building back on the 11th of October. Hare. Look over his shoulder to see the coast is clear. No on-rushing Plymouth Whalers, at least not quite yet. Gagnon did arrive on the scene to try and nullify and eliminate Hare. 14:05 left to go here in period number 3. 2-1. The Whalers lead this hockey game. A tally by the defenseman Cole Jarrett, the difference in this hockey game at this point.
As we got an update from the Ottawa series, and Ottawa is now up on Oshawa 3-0 in a final this afternoon. Toronto beats Brampton 4-1.
Of course, the 67's playing game 1 without another one of the 60-goal men in the OHL, and Matt Foy. Not sure if he's playing tonight. They were calling it an upper body injury. So it'll be interesting to see if Foy, the high-scoring forward for the Ottawa 67s, is available for tonight's game, or was available. Sestito beats it ahead. They get it to center ice. Gagnon gives chase on the play. He's got Mahan with him. Mahan seeing a few spins in the absence of Chad LaRose. Mahan had the trigger cocked, ready to get the shot away. And I believe it's whistled dead. Houle had it for a split second, decided to play it at the last moment, but by then it was a little bit late as the whistle had sounded. Why don't we take a break and send it downstairs to Christina.
I'm here with some Knights fans, Marissa and Kelsey. Now I see you girls here all the time. Why do you come so much?
Because we love Brave and Press, and we like hockey.
Fair enough. And can you tell me where Plymouth is? I think that's, I don't know. It's in Michigan, girls. But have a good game. Anyways, coming up after the game, we'll have the Rogers Television 3 Stars and the play of the game. Back to you guys.
Nearly right there, the play of the game perhaps for the London Knights, as they had things going their way in front of the net, but a scissor-style save made by Drew. The legs went out, they came back in quickly, and he smothered the puck in front of the Plymouth goal.
And this is just a good play by Nate Kaiser, the defenseman for the Plymouth Whalers, as he ties up Rick Stedman's stick in front of the net, and that allows Drew to freeze the puck.
Back on the stick of Cole Jarrett. Jarrett unable to get it out. Open man in front of Stedman. He tried to get the shot away, and coming back to help out was Thorburn, as the pass was floated in front of the net and had a little elevation on it. And the London Knights again with a good chance in front of Paul Drew as the whistle sounds. 13:03 left to go in period number 3. 2-1, the Whalers lead it, and I think the Knights are going to be penalized right here.
Well, Rick Stedman gets his stick up in the face of number 16, Sean Thompson. At the end of that play, it was an accidental high stick, but you have to be in control of your stick at all times, and he'll go 2 minutes for high sticking as Thompson gets up off the ice, and he goes off, and this will give the Plymouth Whalers their 4th power play opportunity of the afternoon, and so far they're 2 for 3 today.
12 for 26 in the playoffs, so you do the math. The Plymouth Whalers on the power play are cashing in nearly 50% of the time.
And leading in power play goals is Thorburn with 3, and LaRose, who is out of the game now, with 2. And as far as power play assists, watch for Wisniewski with 5 and Mitchell with 3.
John Mitchell is out there right now spelling LaRose, who of course is unavailable after taking a 5-minute match penalty back in the second period. Houle had that one slip over the blade of his stick, but to the rescue comes a Weidman. Now here come the London Knights back the other way. Wisniewski's going to have to get back as the speedy Perry's trying to get around him. Now Stathopoulos has a man in front of Weidman. Weidman tries to reach out. He takes it on the backhand. Can't get the shot away as the London Knights are going to have to get back. Mathod, very fortunate for the London Knights. 3 Whalers strong were marching their way up, hungry for the loose puck, but Mathod was just able to send it away from all of them after the London Knights had a pretty good chance right there. Let's whack back in behind the net. Chris Houle is there. He'll take the liberty of just firing it at himself as he found a little seam up the middle of the ice.
And what we're seeing here, Lee, is possibly the London Knights opening this game up as they're killing a penalty and they have 3 men in on an odd man rush.
Now it's picked up by Fiedler. Fiedler scampers his way in, left it there for the trailer. Stewart to the far side, having a look around as he surveys for passing options. Got it into the corner into John Vigilante. Vigilante works his way in as he slithers by Pia Varchuk as the puck makes its way out as it glides all the way down the ice. Kaiser couldn't reach it as he scrambled over to the far boards. Nate Kaiser in his own zone, being watched there by Weir. There's one forechecker for the London Knights right now. And that's Weir, who now backs up as the play filters towards the red line. Again, a scooped in by John Vigilante. The play in behind the net, a little double team perhaps coming up on Quincy. Quincy able to duck out of the way. Stewart, Vigilante, and Fiedler with some purpose in front of the net. Now the defenseman Cole Jarrett well up, got the backhander away, and it was wide of the target. Just one man back for the Plymouth Whalers on this power play time. It's Nate Kaiser. Kaiser with a shot in front of the net. It's right there. Fiedler's looking for it. He tried to roof it and stuff it up high, but he couldn't find the range in front of the net. And a bullet dodged there by the London Knights as the Plymouth Whalers did a great job throwing a blanket on the London Knights, who are trying to prevent further Plymouth goals.
As we get the scoring chances from Plymouth, and Plymouth has 2 games going here. They have the down low game, and here we have number 34, and I think Chris Houle gets his hand on that shot by Jonas Fiedler, and he knocks it up over top of the net, but the Plymouth Whalers break out from down behind the net. They get the low cycle going, and they have the low post game going on the power play.
And that started with a pretty good bit of pressure on, I believe, Kyle Quincy, a couple of Whalers in there, forcing the issue back there. Up the right wing side, dashes Weir. Weir able to scramble and get the shot away, but it hits the leg of Chizik and bounds away. Now Pivarchuk again tried to snap it. He got it high and elevated over the net as Paul Drew didn't have to make a save as he watched that one buzz by his ear. 10 and a little bit left to go here in the third period. 2-1 your score. The London Knights tenaciously looking for the puck as they search in the near side corner, Plymouth territory. Chizik has his man pinned. That's Rick Stedman. Now once again the London Knights trying to track down the loose puck, but Wisniewski is there to pick it off. Now Wisniewski having all sorts of trouble. I'll tell you what, the London Knights, yeoman's work there as they hemmed the Plymouth Whalers into their own zone and gave them fits back there as the forechecking assignment done, letter perfect there. Pivarchuk, Stedman out there along with Weir.
Well, the London Knights are very good at protecting the puck along the wall, and when they get the cycle game going, it drives the other team's defense crazy. And what happens quite often is you'll get somebody with their hand off their stick from the opposing team hauling someone down, and you can get penalties called on those plays, and you can also get some pretty good opportunities on goal by catching someone out of position.
The Knights will send Perry out there with Stathopoulos and Hare for the face-off coming up in Plymouth territory, patrolling the back end. Weidman, along with his usual defense partner, Mark Mathot. Kaiser, Thorburn, Stewart, Sean Thompson, and Cole Jarrett on behalf of the Whalers. Off the face-off, one cleanly by Stathopoulos, not prepared for the pass back was Weidman. And it's dug free by Cole Jarrett. Up ahead to Thompson. Thompson tried to feed Thorburn, who was in mid-flight, just over his own line. The play doesn't make the connection, and again it's swatted back in by Chris Thorburn. Stewart awaits the puck that will glide its way towards his stick at the half boards on the near side. 9:58 left to go here in period number 3. The Knights need one. They are down by a score of 2-1 to the Whalers. One of the top 10 teams in the Canadian Hockey League throughout the season. Up the left wing side, trying to break away is Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos meets limited success as he was knocked down there by Stewart, who was back defensively helping out from his forward position. Weidman got it into Hare. Hare spanks it back towards the defenseman Cole Jarrett, who was able to knock it down. Now back to Quincy. Quincy a look around, a rink-wide pass taken there by Weidman. Weidman Tried to knife it ahead for Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos knocks it down with the glove as Wisniewski was trying to clear. Up the left wing side, here come the Whalers as they move into London territory. Fiedler tries to get the wrist shot away, and he fired a blank right there as he couldn't find the handle on the shot. Again, Jonas Fiedler in behind the net. That's picked off by Weidman. And back the other way, here come the London Knights again. It's Corey Perry. Perry tried to move to the middle of the zone against Lifton. Lifton, one of the real good defensive rear guards in the league, would have none of that. Up the left wing side, Mitchell, John Mitchell winds and fires. Heavy shot in front of the net. It's right there, and it's knocked away. The Whalers searching around for it, trying to stuff it home after Houle was buckled over by the big shot by John Mitchell. And now we've got a flurry of activity in front of the net. Bools and cat calls and all of the above coming from the crowd as the players were looking for the loose puck, namely the Whalers, who thought that they could perhaps get one with Houle out of the play after absorbing that heavy shot.
Well, that shot goes high off of Houle's shoulder, and Danny Savret comes down in behind him. He makes the save. The puck is still underneath him, as you can see. Simola sees that it's free, and they keep jabbing away at it until Chris Houle puts the glove out. Smola's forced to whistle it down.
Wow.
So Danny Savret makes the big save to keep this game at 2-1 with 8:51 left here in the third period. And the Plymouth Whalers out shooting the London Knights at this point 28-23.
Well, there's not usually a lot of room in front in the crease area, but everyone and their brother was there on that last exchange. Now a chance here for the London Knights. Logan Hunter centering pass. Dylan Hunter is there, but so is Jimmy Gagnon to pick it off. Jimmy Ball away from his defense position to try and help out offensively. They work it low to the London Knights. It's right there for Logan Hunter. Now the London Knights will have to switch gears from offense to defense. Back come the Whalers. This is Gagnon. Gagnon into the slot. Sestito pulls the trigger, but it's knocked down in front of the net. Good job by Boland coming back to help out defensively. Back to Kaiser. Kaiser whips it towards the goal. It's right there for Sestito. And a big save in front by Houle, who had the paddle down and made the save in tight again on Sestito. And another save in front. Mahan got the shot away. Acrobatic goaltending once again by Chris Houle, who springs back up into action. Now back in behind the net. Ball. They're giving his man the business. That's Tim Sestito. Now a rink-wide pass to a pinching Chisek. Now back the other way. Here come the London Knights. Dylan Hunter's got ball with him. Dylan Hunter fades to the right as he cuts into the zone. Left it there for Logan Hunter. Logan Hunter with a shot blocker saved by Drew as the puck pinballs off his blocker. And the Plymouth Whalers are able to come up with the puck. Chisek being pursued by Logan Hunter. He eludes him with some acceleration. Now back onto the stick of Cole. Jarrett has played a good game on the back end for the Plymouth Whalers into Stewart. That's going to be 2 lines. Stewart thought he had pulled away. He pulled away enough, but the pass is whistled down.
And the London Knights have opened this game up. You're starting to see the London Knights defense jump up into the play. You're starting to see them pinch down low with 7:29 left behind 2-1. You're seeing some odd man rushes come from Plymouth, and Chris Houle is standing very tall in goal as he's made 2 or 3 key saves in the last minute and a half to keep this game 2-1.
He's made 2 or 3 key saves since about the beginning of January. It's picked up by Thorburn. Thorburn trying to race away from his man Mathot. Mathot able to cut him off at the pass. Good job there by Mathot, who took the angle away from Thorburn, who was trying to force his way in. Into the corner. Thorburn again with Stewart. Hard-working Carl Stewart. And finally the puck is pinned to the back wall. This thing's starting to open up quite nicely. 7:09 left to go in the third. The shots on goal considerably more favorable from a London perspective than earlier in the game, 32-24.
And Mark Mathot shows us a bit of the maturing process that he's gone through this year as he hustles back into the play and he chases Thorburn to the inside shoulder, to the outside post. Makes the real estate go away on Thorburn and makes a very nice defensive play.
You're right. He closed the gap with intelligence right there. Drew reverses it in his own zone right into Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos bangs it back into the corner. That's where Rick Stedman does his best work. He's in there with Cole Jarrett trying to work it free. Lifton takes his man out of the play. Mitchell comes back to help out. Now Vigilante trying to chop it out of the zone again. It's Mitchell. Mitchell will leave it there for Fiedler. Fiedler scampers up the left wing side. He doesn't get far though as Stathopoulos is able to work it away from him. Mitchell from well out, tried a wrist shot, and it doesn't get through as he was surrounded, boxed in by a series of Knights. Now Chisek takes it off the corner wall. It's a little nudge there from Stathopoulos. Stathopoulos still parked in behind the net along with Chisek. Can they work it free? Yes, they can. Stathopoulos again. Creative work by Stathopoulos. A centering pass In front of Thomas. Oh, what a fabulous save by Drew as the leg was whipped out. He darted out the leg quickly, and he took a goal away from the London Knights. Fabulous goaltending there from Paul Drew.
Mike Stathopoulos would love to have this opportunity back as he takes a pass from Corey Perry in front. He tried to go top shelf. It went off the heel of his stick, a rolling puck, and Paul Drew comes across post to post and makes a fabulous pad save to keep this game at 2-1 in favor of the Plymouth Whalers.
Boy, that'll test the hamstring every time as Drew basically stretched the length of the two posts to come up with that goodie right there. Sweet save made by Drew, and the Whalers know it. 2-1. Plymouth leads it. 6 minutes left to go in the third period. Things are starting to definitely percolate a little bit here in the third period. The Whalers and the London Knights. London leading the series 1-0. The Whalers trying to reestablish home ice advantage, make it a best of 5 with 3 of them in Plymouth. Up the left wing side, Thorburn looking for some company here. It won't come right away, so he makes a move or two to sidestep some checking. Again, Thorburn, as that squirts the puck back in, is lobbed in. 5:44 left to go in the third. 2-1. So the London Knights trail it.
And we have an update from Kitchener and Guelph, and this game is in Guelph tonight, and the Kitchener Rangers are starting to run away with the hockey game as Guelph went out 1-0. It is now 6-1 Kitchener.
So the Rangers spotted the Storm, the 1-0 lead in Guelph, but Kitchener, as you mentioned, starting to run away with things a little bit. They sure don't have to travel far for road games, those two clubs, separated by, what, about 10, 12 kilometers? Waugh. Trying to make a play. Waugh enforced on the play by Lifton. Lifton, another good defensive jam there. The fans wanted to pound the after the fact as Lifton and Waugh glare at one another after the play was done. And we get Ball and Gagnon doing some shoving. Jimmy Ball, the responsible thing to do there was to skate away from Gagnon and avoid any sort of problems. Logan Hunter could probably take a page from Jimmy Ball right there as he's tied up with Lifton. No time right now for either side to take needless penalties of the retaliatory or the selfish nature.
Well, Jimmy Ball, 235 pounds. He's made his presence felt in this league, certainly in the short time that he's been here, but more guys have bounced off that 235-pound frame than I'd like to count, and I'm sure that they come out pretty sore the next morning.
Yes. And Jimmy Ball, I think, has left a bruise or two on opposing forwards since his time with the London Knights. Good pickup by the London Knights, Jimmy Ball. Of course, originally a draft pick by the North Bay Centennials, but he has fit in very nicely and really has since the beginning of his time with the London Knights.
As we get a shot of Mike Stathopoulos, who has quietly taken the assist lead in this playoff run with 11 assists so far in the series against Windsor and Plymouth.
Kyle Quincy in behind his own net, rattles it off the wall to get it to Perry. Perry shovels it as far as the Plymouth line, and Kaiser sent it right back to where it came, right around center ice. Now Perry will knock it down, a man to beat in Kaiser. Perry prepares to shoot, left it there for Stedman. Stedman just couldn't find his way through. Perry continues on as he's tackled from behind by Jonas Fiedler. The fans again not enthralled with the non-call as the London Knights were embarking on a pretty successful trip up the ice. At least that's the way it was looking. 4.5 left to go in the third period. 2-1 the Whalers lead it. Here they come again. Stathopoulos leading the charges. He's got Stedman again making a beeline for the front of the net. He's knocked down in the play by Lifton. One man has lost a glove in the play. It's retrieved by the owner, Stedman, on the way back. Kyle Quincy in his own zone. Up the right wing side. Just shy of center ice. Stathopoulos bangs it ahead. Tried to spring Perry at the line. But the play goes nowhere for the London Knights. So they'll try it again. Reorganizing in neutral ice. A flare sent in the direction of Dylan Hunter, jams on the brakes to try and nullify the checking of Lifton. It's picked up there by Thorburn. Thorburn weaves his way up the left wing side and just kind of pitchforks it in. Houle came out for a little skate to get back into the game as he flags that one down, and we'll get a face-off coming up, I believe, in London territory.
And the crowd here is getting on referee Smola as he seems to have put his whistle away, and for good reason. He's letting the players finish this game off themselves. He doesn't want to be a factor.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I have no problem whatsoever with Pat Smola, who has kind of been lauded for his solid officiating in the playoffs. I remember Jim Halton, after one of the games in the Belleville-Toronto series that Smola officiated, was very complimentary of the work done by Pat Smola. Again, a scenario where he kind of let the two teams play.
Well, he's given both teams a power play opportunity on 4 occasions here this evening. All goals scored in this hockey game have been power play goals, 2 by the Plymouth Whalers, 1 by the London Knights. So he doesn't want to be a factor down the stretch with 3:53 left here in the third.
And of the 3 power play goals, the biggest one belongs to Cole Jarrett. That's the go-ahead goal that was recorded earlier on in this period. There's Pivarchuk. He's greeted at the line by Thompson, picked up in behind the net by Lifton. Lifton has to reverse his angle and reroute, as there was nothing in behind the net. He couldn't get away from the traffic back there. Pivarchuk slithers away from his check, but Lifton, boy, he's responsible back there. He's a heck of a defenseman when it comes to defensive assignments. There's no question about it. Thorburn up the right wing side into Stewart. Stewart gains center ice, just feeds it in. He's tired on the play. He's in a good position to race to the bench. He didn't have to go far. He was right there. Now back on the right wing side, Poland. Let that one go. Jarrett at the line, bangs it right back in. The Plymouth Whalers seem to be of the mindset that dumping and chasing is not a bad way to keep the London Knights certainly in their own zone. They can't do much if they're right in front of Chris Houle in terms of getting the equalizing goal back.
Well, all the play is in the neutral zone right now, and that kind of plays into the Plymouth Whalers' hands here, Lee, as they're employing a page out of the London Knights book, and they're employing that trap, and they're congesting the center ice area. So the Knights are going to have that first outlet pass. It's going to have to be a long one and a quick one.
Go Knights, go. The chant surrounding the building. You hear it in the background. Trying to rally the Knights to a goal here and then take your chances. Making it 2-2. Prust tracks it down in the corner, trying to get a pass back to Quincy. Quincy held up on the play a little bit. That'll enable the Whalers to get a 2-on-1 constructed here. Gagnon with a shot right in front of the net. Another save by Houle. Zestito unable to do anything with the rebound as it came right out in front of the net. Back the other way. Here comes Hare. Hare slides away from the checking of Kaiser, centering pass. Hare looking for Weir. Weir trying to get on track, but he's tied up there and tugged down on the play by Mahan. Now another chance in front of net. The London Knights. Prust knocked out of the way by Nate Kaiser. Relentless pursuit, buzzing around on the London Knights. Thirsty for that second goal to make it 2-2. Now it's knocked all the way down the ice. That will be icing as again the fans, a chorus of boos ringing around the building.
Well, I agree with referee Smola here. Put the whistle away, let the players finish the game off. This is a very exciting period, and certainly there was no harm, no foul on that, as the London Knights were behind the net when Cole Jarrett tugged on Matt Weir and tugged him down.
Will assemble for a face-off again in Plymouth territory. Stathopoulos is there as Lifton tries to get the pieces assembled properly for the Plymouth Whalers. It goes all the way down the ice. 2 to go here in the third period. The London Knights need one here to tie the affair up. They lead this series 1-0, and the Whalers are looking to go back home. But a big body check thrown there by Perry as he lined up Lifton, who goes back. Perry and Lifton, a couple of the sought-after draft picks for an NHL team coming up in June in Nashville. Both of them solidly entrenched, I believe, in the second round. Corey Perry ranking 51st in the last rankings by Central Scouting. Dave Lifton checks in at number 34 as far as North American talent is concerned.
And that was a huge hit by Corey Perry, as he's the first man in on the play, and he creates a turnover, and the London Knights get an opportunity.
Now a chance here in behind the net again, trying to track it down. Is Perry in front of the net? It's right there. Oh, Stathopoulos got it away, and that tickled the pad, I believe, of Drew, and it steered into the corner. The London Knights with another near miss as the crowd gasped right there. Boy, I tell you what, close quarters play for the London Knights in periods 2 and 3. Have to be very, very satisfying for the bench, but would make it even better is a goal here from the London Knights for the London faithful, who are on the edge of their seats. Back in behind the net, Perry's there. Houle making his way over to the bench in favor of the extra attacker. Out pops Hare. Hare goes to the attack now. 6 London Knights on the ice to 5 Plymouth Whalers. Rattled off the wall by Stewart. Good play by Wyman to press his body against the boards to keep it in temporarily. Now Drew. And handcuffed him slightly. Boy, I tell you what, there's been a few shots on goal on Paul Drew that he's not played overly cleanly in here tonight. He's had a little bit of trouble containing the puck when it's come in. I think the London Knights are taking notes on that.
Well, it has jumped around as we get a shot of Dennis Weidman, and Dennis Weidman leads all defensemen scoring in the playoffs now, and Dennis recorded his 9th point in here this afternoon on 6 goals and 3 assists, as the London Knights have called a timeout, and they'll construct a play here with 50.8 seconds to go, and the Knights have opened it up and they've had a couple of good forays here in the Plymouth zone, and the Plymouth Whalers are now back on their heels. They're just trying to ice the puck, get it out over the blue line. The blue line is your friend if you're the Plymouth Whalers. The London Knights have to get a furious forecheck go and get down in front of Paul Drew, create some traffic, and get some shots on goal.
The respective benches diagramming some plays here. Defensive work for the Plymouth Whalers, while the Knights trying to blueprint something, a quick hitter play to task Paul Drew. Shots on goal 34-28 in favor of the Plymouth Whalers. So that is something that has tightened up throughout the course of the game, with London coming back after Plymouth had the first several shots on goal in this game.
Well, what the London Knights are going to try and do is get it wide to Corey Perry and get over the blue line on the far side.
Jarrett will try and spank it out second time around. He is able to get a pass to the left wing side. Stewart, with that speed, makes his way in. Now back the other way. Here comes Corey Perry. Perry just dumps it in. Going to the attack now are the London Knights. Kaiser's there in the corner. He's hemmed right in. Can the London Knights get something going here? They'll have to try and contain it in the zone. Fiedler gets it up and out, but not down the ice. Protected there by Danny Savret. Again, is whipped in to the near side corner. Jarrett takes a bump from Prost, who's out there to do a little bit of banging. Now the London Knights again trying to move the puck around. It's right there. A shot by Sithopoulos from a rather sharp angle, but still it tested the front of the Plymouth goal. A dozen seconds left to go. Prost in the corner's got an opportunity to feed it in front. Kaiser sliding to try and intercept the pass. It goes high into the air. Just a couple of seconds left to go in this one. The Plymouth Whalers are looking to equal the series here. Perry in front of that. Into Heron. He took a swipe at it, but came up empty. And the Plymouth Whalers hold on by the skin of their nose